Hey there, sports fans. How we doing? I'm good, thanks. Ready for another round of rugby league action in the Betfred Super League 2025, round 24. God, it just gets better, doesn't it? Let's have a look at the fixtures that we got coming up this week. Couple of really good games. Here, I'm looking at the fixtures here, and I can see that there are four, probably, three really influential games. I'm looking at. Well, let's go. Let's just go through them in case anyone's just listening. So we got Thursday night Leigh versus Castleford. That's another one of those games that Sky forgot that Thursday night game. You can just, it's just on Super League Plus. They just don't care. Friday night, the mouth-watering Hull KR versus Saints. Also on Friday, Warrington versus Salford. Salford's last game, probably. Hull FC versus Leeds Saturday afternoon. Saturday evening, Wakefield versus Huddersfield. Saturday night, Catalans versus Wigan. Quite the rugby league derby has connotations. Rugby league festival on Saturday, isn't it? 3 games on a Saturday. What luck we have on Saturday. So, if we look at the matchups, couple of blowouts, but like I said, some pretty good games. We've got Hull KR versus Saints 1v3, Hull FC versus Leeds 6v4, Wakefield versus Huddersfield 7 versus 10, but likely to be a challenging match all around. Let's get into it. All right, Thursday night, Leigh versus Castleford at the Leigh Sports Village. There's really only one winner here, isn't there? And it's probably the Leopards, not the Tigers. Although Leigh are in a weird place at the minute, so I've got an idea of what I'd like to see from this game. Leigh have gone from being giant killers, in the space of 4 weeks, they knocked off Saints, Hull KR, Wigan and Leeds. All the rest of the top 5, Leigh beat them all pretty much in succession, and then have just got hit a bad patch on the Hull FC, kind of knocked them off a little bit, started wobbling, and here we are playing Castleford. So I think Leigh, what I need to see from Leigh, or what I'd like to see from Leigh, to really G me up for the playoffs, because Leigh are probably going to make it to the playoffs, is I want to see them putting stuff on. So this is a similar situation to where Saints were earlier in the year, when they'd had a real bad injury crisis. They'd sort of gone through a poor bout of form, and they were just playing Salford again and again and again. And my point there was, don't just pile the points on. Let's see you put some stuff together. So Theo Fages last week exposed a pretty big hole that Castleford have got out the back. I think the guy's name was Wallace, and I don't really know what's going on with the Castleford back line, but they're not a Cass back line. Say what you can about Cass. They usually have like an identity of really fast, free-flowing back line, centres, wingers, fullback. Theo Fages exposed this last week, so it would be easy for them to look for that. But really what I want to see this week is I want to see Hodgson, Brand and Charnley really, really link up and put some nice stuff on, because otherwise you're just scoring points. And I get it. Leigh need points, really. They're in 5th position at the minute from 3rd, from competing for 2nd a couple of weeks ago. They're down to 5th, but there's not a lot in it. So yeah, they could shoot for points, but realistically I think what they need to do is work on their attack, because they've got Saints coming up for sure in the next couple of weeks, and I don't know who else, but I think that's what they need to do. Score predictions here, 26-6. I don't think Castle get nothing, but hopefully Leigh can put a good string of points together to make this worth watching, I guess. I'm actually recording this on Thursday, so I'll be watching this in just a little bit. You'll probably get to see on Friday. So we'll see, eh? We'll see. Friday Night Lights at Craven Park. And I'm actually going to this one for the first time ever. I've never been to Craven Park, even though I lived in Hull for a whole calendar year back in 2010, 11. Never been to Craven Park, so I'll enjoy this. Now, the score I've got for this one is 16-20 in Saints' favour. I didn't really know what to do with this game, which way it was going to fall, because it seems like it's possible that Hull KR are going through a rough patch. But equally, the points that were predicted by my sort of sum that I do, take all the bias out of it, just crunch the numbers, was this, 16-20. But these points are massively biased towards wins against, because it takes into account the last 8 weeks, I think. So we've got a Salford, a Huddersfield blowout, and a Castleford blowout for Saints. So the numbers are a bit skewed. Probably, in all likelihood, KR are probably going to win, but I'm going to stick to my guns here. I'm going to put on my red V and wear it proudly. For me, this game comes down to the wings. Last week, Hull KR basically had their wings clipped, the Robins, by Leeds pulling off all those interceptions. So Burgess and Davis last week didn't really do an awful lot because the intercept was just always on from Leeds. Right up in the attacking line whilst defending. It was just dangerous, so they didn't do it. Saints have basically got their two choice wingers of their current run of form out of action. Dagnall and Felt are both out of action. Felt got failed an HIA after the game. So after the game was finished, he sort of went to the doctor and was like, I don't really feel too good. And the doctor pulled him from this week's game. So can say, in all likelihood, I haven't seen the team sheet. It's probably going to be Dion Cross and Tristan Saylor on the wings. Now, these are not... Dion Cross has played wing. Saylor played wing earlier in the year. But they've been out of the wing game for a little while. So whether they can be dynamic enough, think like a winger enough to catch Davis and Burgess out, who are pretty powerful units, as wingers go, they're pretty much up there in the power rankings. Can they be quick enough for that? I don't know. So that's a good battle to watch out for. How can Saints win? So if you look at the attack, if you look at the stats, Saints are about 10% better than the Robins in tackle busts and missed tackles. So they missed about 10% fewer tackles and they bust about 10% more tackles. But KR are better at breaks by about the same margin. And breaks typically lead to tries a lot more than tackle busts and missed tackles do. So I think the balance there in the middle of the field is going to be an interesting one. Either way, the fact that those stats are so skewed, it's looking like a pretty fast-paced, exciting game. Both teams like to make over 1,000 metres, over 1,100, 1,200 metres a game. So, I'm looking forward to this one. For Saints, I think we have to really look at Jack Wellesby, Robertson and Mbai. Big fan of Mbai. Just found out he's leaving at the end of the season. I have to say bye-bye to Mbai. And KR, like I said, the wings. What are Davis and Burgess up to? Is Mikey Lewis playing? I'm sure he will be, after kind of going missing a bit last week. And my old pal Broadbent. I'm always watching what Broadbent's up to. I just like him. He's a good player, is our Broadbent. Right. Also, on Friday night, we got Warrington versus Wolves, versus the Red Devils. This, I'm making a claim right now, making a prediction. This is Salford's last game of the season. They'll fulfill this because it's an away match. Now, they've got a home and an away match yet to come. They they'll forfeit both those games, I reckon. Definitely the next week, and then I think they'll be forced to forfeit the final game of the season against Wakefield. Just watch this space. It's all about ticket money, everyone. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about this. It's likely that Salford won't even be in Super League next year, if you believe, what you're seeing and really what people want. Like, people want Salford to bounce back, but I think if you ask people en masse, they'd say, well, if there's a team in the Championship that hasn't essentially gone bankrupt and strung along 60-odd players this season, then we should probably pick them. I'll stay out of it. That just seems to be what I'm reading and hearing. So this is our last Super League game, probably for a while. I just hope they can put on a good show. So last week was a really good game for Rowan Mills, Chamambe. I don't even know if they're playing this week anymore. They probably don't know if they're playing this week anymore, and it's Thursday. Yeah, I hope Warrington fans head over. This to me, like, there's no point talking about the game. 38-10, I think it's going to be. Because Warrington aren't in the best run of form, particularly defensively. So I think Salford can squeeze a few past them. Warrington are dominant, largely, in games. So, yeah, I want Warrington to go down fighting. They probably can't make the playoffs, but they're playing, I think they play Leigh and Wigan coming up. So it would be really good if they could just, I don't know, for somewhere, just pull out a massive run of form and just make some amazing shock victories. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? Really liven up the edge of the season. Burgess. All right. The start of the Rugby League Festival on Saturday afternoon. Early doors, Saturday. It's Hull FC versus Leeds. And it's a home game for Hull FC. It's pretty much crunch time here for Hull FC. They need to win, really, if we're being honest. And if they don't win, they need to lose, just miss out on the victory. Can they do it? I don't really know. So there's sort of two things to look at here. One is that Leeds make on average 200 metres more than Hull FC. That's not really that good. It's kind of a similar situation that Hull found themselves in last week. Even though they were defending really well, they just found themselves on the try line all the time because Saints were just making more metres than them. It could be a similar situation here. Second thing is, Leeds this year have got a really effective plan of scrambling defences. Jake Connor's high kicks, that sort of Leeds wave I've talked about in the past, where the offload is always on. That scrambles defences, and Hull FC are a team who really, really sort of galvanise around that defensive line. It's admirable. I've really enjoyed seeing it. If Leeds can scramble them, though, it doesn't really matter because Leeds are going to get through. I think in this game you're going to see a lot of 40-20 attempts. Because, like I said, Leeds just want to make metres all the time. Jake Connor loves the 40-20. Hull, I think Hull are going to need that edge. They're going to want to get down there and really work with Leeds backs against the try line because, like I said before, and I stand by this, Hull are really good at defence this year and they're really good on your try line at attack. So Hull are going to try to get down there an awful lot. I think for Hull FC, I'm looking at the Lewis Litton partnership. Those buds over on the wing, doing really good. Obviously, the try scoring expert, Lewis Martin, is just doing wonderful things this year. I've said it from the start of the year, from game one, he was going to do good stuff, and he has done. So we're looking at Martin, Litton, and Caesar as well for that kicking advantage. If those three can really, like Caesar, just poke his nose through, get down the field, kick down the field, 40-20s, get Martin in there, they can do it. But if not, if Connor, Hanley and Newman whom I want to watch for Leeds, have anything to do with it, it's going to be about 28-18, I reckon. It'll be a good match. It's one I'm looking forward to watching. I just don't know. But then again, Hull FC, I've got to win in them, haven't they? They have got that ability to win. So we'll see how it goes on Saturday afternoon. Saturday evening, though, we find ourselves in Wakefield at Bellevue, the DIY Kitchen Stadium. Do you think it bothers? Because obviously Matt Ellis has bought Wakefield, essentially, and he's put loads of money into the stadium, and it's his fault really that Wakefield are even in the Super League next year because of the gradings. But it's still, the stadium's still always going to be Bellevue, isn't it? A DIY Kitchen Stadium. No one's calling it that. All right, Matt, just give up that ghost. If we're honest about this game, I mean, it's weird to be having this conversation. If we're honest about this game, Wakefield are in a bit of a dip, and Huddersfield are in a bit of a peak right now. So the form calculator for both teams is in completely the opposite direction. So Huddersfield could pull a lucky one out here. Now, my score prediction for this is 24-14 to Wakefield. I got to caveat that by saying this is based on Wakefield, Trin, not whoever the fuck showed up against Wigan last week. With, Jarrett's head was elsewhere, Pitts was knackered all game. It was like they'd all just woken up. We need to see Wakefield. We need to see Walmsley and Johnstone taking up the big yards. We need to see meters. We need to see over 1,200 meters in this game for Wakefield to stand a chance. And they can do it. They can absolutely do it. Huddersfield have been a team that can be pinned all year. They're also a team who can run out of steam late on in the game, because I think, to be honest, their pack are a bit, big and strong, but probably a bit non-committal. I think I heard someone on the Wakefield Trinity Heritage podcast refer to them as what was it, like that's unresilient is how they describe the Huddersfield pack. And I think you're probably right. Like, there's no characters in there, is it? Except for Wolford at 9. There's no one really in that pack that I would sort of bet on, to be honest. Yeah, Tom Burgess is over, but he doesn't give a shit, does he? He's happy riding the bench if he has to. That being said, Huddersfield do have a really, really powerful weapon in the right hands and at the right time, and that's the Flanagan-Gagai axis. If those two can connect well and in the right point of the field, they're really good. Whether they're going to be allowed to do that against Wakefield is a bit of a question mark, because those two really are the only sort of recognised halfbacks they've got at the minute. Ollie Russell is at Huddersfield for the rest of the season, but unfortunately he's Wakefield paying his wages, so he's not allowed to play against Wakefield. So they're a halfback down. I don't know what they're going to do to fill those gaps. Because, of course, Gagai is kind of playing centre a bit, and nowadays he's not even really in the backs conversation. But we'll see. So I think, obviously Huddersfield wants to watch Gagai, Flanagan. Wakefield wants to watch McMeekan smashing through down the middle. I think, McMeekan can basically do anything, can't he? He's just really, really shown his true colours this year. And Jowett, he had a game off last week, but he'll be back. He'll be back, lads. Don't worry about that. And Corey Hall as well. I think if you're looking at where Flanagan likes to run, it's basically right into where Corey Hall stands. So I believe that Corey Hall can really, really neutralise that weapon if he's on his game. If he's on the field, I haven't seen the team sheet, so I don't know. Okay, closing out the weekend, everyone. It's Catalans versus Wigan In previous years, in 2024, for example, this would have been a mouth-watering fixture. Today, not so much, but it is an 8 o'clock game on a Saturday. So what are you going to do? Hopefully the crowd will be full of Wiganers eating pies on baguettes and just loving life, loving the sunshine. Really, in this match, French is the word, isn't it? We got Frenchies on one side and we got Bevan French on the other, who could basically probably pick this team apart the way they've been playing one-handed. But the Catalans are doing better. They're doing well. I mean, there's really only one way to go here. This could be a real bloodbath. I'm going to suggest that it'll be about 32-12. Obviously, French and Field haven't really connected all that much. In fact, Field's been a bit off his game the second half of the season. He was for a couple of weeks there, sort of challenging the try-scoring expert Martin Lewis Lewis Martin for that sort of top try space. He kind of dropped off a little bit. He's not in the top point scorers anymore. He's still in the top try scorers, obviously. So French, Field, I kind of still not sure what Julian December's up to. So I'm going to be watching him. But I think, to be honest, every way you look at this, every position, Wigan have the upper hand, don't they? I would absolutely love to see Theo Fages, the old Yorkshire Terrier, the old French Bulldog Theo Fages, with his sort of ageing pack, just destroy Wigan in the south of France one more time. I'd love to see that. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think this is going to be comprehensive for Wigan. Hopefully it'll be a good match. I mean, that's all we can hope for, right? That the Catalans will put on a good show and it'll be competitive. Something, where maybe at half time it's a bit close and then they run away with it. I'd be happy with that as well. 32-12, the score for me. All right. So these are my predictions, everyone. Winners, I've got Leigh, Saints, even though I didn't sound too convinced. Warrington, Leeds, Wakefield and Wigan. Let me know what your predictions are, how you came to them, who your ones to watch are in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want. I'm getting a couple over now. I'm not really advertising it that much, but if you made it this far, I think you owe me a subscribe and a like. All right, guys, enjoy round 24 of the Betfred Super League 2025, and I'll see you next week.